Almost every one of us as children explored all the mysteries and unfamiliar places in our neighborhoods, which often ended in abrasions, cuts, skinned knees and elbows, and admonishments from our mothers, who nonetheless caringly applied bandages to these consequences of our youthful adventures. It's due to these experiences that from an early age, we know well what color the liquid is that gushes from the wounds on a human body. However, even such a trivial and obvious fact can turn out to be untrue. That stuff, which often flows like a river in Tarantino films, receives its characteristic shade due to the iron contained in hemoglobin. But in our blood, there's another protein called methemoglobin, in which the iron molecules are slightly modified. This element of the red stuff is present in all humans, but in excessive amounts, in addition to causing serious health problems, can turn the blood brown and, like the hero of the film Avatar, turn one's skin blue. So, if something like a chocolate slurry begins flowing from your wounds and you suddenly find your complexion has turned pale blue, instead of exclaiming on social media that you believe you must be an orphaned refugee from the planet Pandora, it might be better to walk or even run to the nearest doctor, as this is really a sign of a rare disease. However, there's a risk that you won't make it on time, as due to a lack of oxygen in your blood, you will soon have a terrible headache, become nauseous, and have difficulty breathing. Indeed, you'll find it quite difficult to even stay on your feet for long. On your way to the hospital, try not to fall into any bodies of water, unless you have a desire to have blood of even another more haunting color. In the case of a cut at a depth of more than 10 meters underwater, a person will bleed out green like a Vulcan. This is the same color of blood as some annelid worms, leeches, and marine invertebrates. You might be asking yourself, is it really possible at such a sea depth a person will turn into something akin to fish bait? In fact, nothing will appear red at such a depth, as the light waves responsible for this color are simply unable to break through that much water. Therefore, the crimson liquid flowing from your wound will appear bright green, but upon returning to land will regain its former color. That is, if you haven't been swimming in the Black Sea. If you have, then on land too, there's a possibility you might bleed bright emerald from your cut. In point of fact, the waters there are incredibly rich in the quite unpleasant-smelling, naturally occurring chemical compound hydrogen sulfide. Once in the body, this chemical mixture combines with hemoglobin, giving the blood a true dirty green color. True, sulfurous hydrogen in a person's body isn't usually the result of swimming in the Black Sea, but because of that person's excessive consumption of certain pharmaceuticals. The first such case was recorded as a result of an overdose of migraine medication called sumatriptan. So one trades one problem, severe headaches, for another, green blood. Is it worth it? Some might think it would be fun to have green blood coursing through their veins. Unfortunately, it's not particularly beneficial to the state of one's health. The entire oxygen transport and logistics system of the body will suffer. Until the hemoglobin is completely restored to its former levels, the blood's green color will remain. Additionally, the body's natural purification process will take a painfully long time. The ridiculously unpleasant and agonizing side effects would make one regret ever having had anything to do with hydrogen sulfide. Indeed, only a blood transfusion will remedy the situation and bring the patient's blood back to its customary color. Historically, since medieval times, Western society has referred to people of noble birth as blue bloods, as in literally having blue blood running through their veins. But is this really true for spiders, octopuses, squid, and crustaceans? Yes, it is. In such marine creatures, the role of hemoglobin is played by a different protein, hemocyanin, which contains copper instead of iron, and so stains the blood of our tentacled and clawed friends a beautiful sky blue. Does this mean that a person could ingest some coils of copper wire so as to have blood vessels filled with a sapphire blue solution? On the internet, there's a rumor making the rounds that sufferers of cyanosis have light blue blood due to it having an increased content of copper. Regardless, next time a friend or acquaintance claims to be descended from blue bloods, you might then insist they must really be related to squids or spiders, as the existence of true blue-blooded humans has never been proven. Copper is, of course, a completely normal thing to have in one's body, but an overabundance can lead not to blue blood, but to a bluish, cadaver-like skin color, with all of the horrible consequences that follow, such as death. Such a development, death, leads to the blood becoming largely colorless, since after life ends, our blood first thickens, then congeals, then liquefies, finally losing all color. It then flows down, pulled by gravity, to those parts of the body closest to the earth. So if someone attempts to scare you at a Halloween party, pretending to be a real zombie, poke the bastard with a needle. If a clear liquid doesn't begin to flow, well, then you know you're safe. Other colors of the rainbow, like purple and yellow, don't enter into the picture for human blood. But purple and yellow blood do flow in the veins of worms and in various inhabitants of our world's oceans, from pleated mollusks to sea cucumbers. Some aquatic invertebrates have the luxury of changing the color of their blood depending on the oxygen saturation level, from complete transparency in the absence of a vital element to a pinkish violet hue when it is simply loaded with the stuff. The blood running through human veins only rarely acquires a different color, and that's a signal that the health of the individual is far from ideal. And so, though one may desire to recast the color of one's blood, much like some people dye their hair, there is, as yet, no way to do this without seriously harming one's health. But the blood type, unlike the color, can be changed, much like one's name and surname in a passport. Alas, this procedure can only be carried out with a small amount of the red stuff, and not with a person's entire supply. This is possible thanks to an insatiable sweet tooth some microbes have in your belly. Bacteria that inhabit the intestines secrete enzymes whose favorite meal is sugar. The amount and type of the remnants of this sugar on the surface of your leukocytes, or white blood cells, determines what type of blood you have. Blood type A has one type of sugar residue, type B another, and type AB is lucky to have both varieties of sweet residue. And finally, type O has practically none. That's why if you put type A and B and some enzymes of intestinal bacteria in a dish together, they will devour all of the sugar, gradually purifying the blood into type O. Alas, with type AB, such tricks don't work. Apparently, this gooey banquet is too sweet for even these voracious sugar lovers. However, this wouldn't be necessary regardless, as the bearers of type AB are able to use the blood of all the other types. Still, the alchemical ability of enzymes to perform miracles with blood could save millions of lives. This is due to the high demand for type O in the medical sphere, as being universal, it obviously suits absolutely everyone. And there isn't always enough of the stuff. That's why we often see posts on social networks appealing for help for people who've suffered significant blood loss. So this new discovery could fundamentally alter the situation, because every second spent searching for blood donors could be the last one for those who need urgent help. In addition, this transformation into type O blood takes no more than an hour. True, this procedure is only on the raw fluid. If you want to change your own blood type, well, it's unlikely you'll have much success. However, your blood can change types on its own, all entirely unbeknownst to you. At first glance, this idea seems completely ridiculous, but for one Australian girl, whose name has not yet been made public, such a change has become a reality. At the tender age of 12, her blood type changed completely. However, scientists didn't have to guess as to what the instigating factor was, as 3 years before, the girl had received a donor liver. This guest organ, apparently, didn't particularly want to accept conditions at the new digs. So it proceeded to get impudent and dared to rebuild the entire immune system and change the blood type to suit itself. So, will the transplanted liver completely take over the girl, eventually transforming the entire child into its previous owner? In fact, the explanation is much simpler than such fanciful musings. In this unusual case, the doctor explained, the bone marrow was transplanted with the liver, and the bone marrow, in many ways, governs the immune system and dictates blood type. The danger from the alien organ is but a mirage. The girl will, thankfully, remain herself for the rest of her life. But If you suddenly discover that your blood type has changed, it doesn't mean that someone snuck in while you were sleeping and secretly injected new bone marrow into your body. It's possible that there's a completely different kind of alien intruder in your body, a child, or less celebratory, a tumor. During pregnancy and cancer, people sometimes undergo significant transformations of their blood, including the type. However, in the overwhelming majority of cases, the blood type, like its color, remains unchanged throughout life. It's a universal gauge for all of us. After all, the composition of this red liquid signifies the state of human health, and its violent shedding is indicative of a societal disease. So take a few minutes out of your day and give some blood. Be a donor and a hero. You just might be saving someone's life.